In 1947, the United States Navy sent Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd to go and explore Antarctica. He set out with an armada and found something so astonishing, it really should have sent shockwaves around the world. But it didn't. Admiral Byrd didn't just find the coldest, windiest, most remote continent on the planet. He stumbled across a hidden world full of lush vegetation, dense forests, and even woolly mammoths. If that's not enough, Admiral Byrd and his men discovered a subterranean crystal city with advanced technology and a race of people called the Ariani. So, two questions. Who or what did Admiral Byrd encounter on his Antarctic expedition, and why aren't we looking for it? I'm John Genoa, host of America's Strangest History. This is the true story of an American naval hero who wrote his incredible findings down in his own personal diary. Did he find a hidden world somewhere under the Antarctic? Did he make first contact with an undiscovered humanoid species? Or is this just the ravings of a madman? Let's dive in. Between August 1946 and February 1947, the United States launched a mission to Antarctica. The mission, known as Operation Highjump, or Task Force 68, was organized by Rear Admiral Richard Byrd. He was selected to lead this operation by then Secretary of the Navy, James Forrestal. I'll say from the start, it was a huge mission. 4,700 men, 70 ships, 33 aircraft. Admiral Byrd was given 4 official objectives for his Antarctic expedition: training personnel and testing equipment in cold climates, determining the feasibility of establishing bases in Antarctica, developing techniques to land aircraft on ice runways, and finally collecting geological and meteorological data. At this time, Admiral Byrd was considered a national hero. He was famous for undertaking numerous dangerous polar expeditions. He was credited with the discovery of Mount Sidley, that's the largest dormant volcano in Antarctica. On top of all of that, he was also the first person ever to fly over the North Pole. This guy was a legend in his own lifetime. In 1957, Admiral Byrd died in his sleep from heart failure. He was just 68 years old. Now, you'd expect his story to end there, except after his death, evidence of a secret diary surfaced, a diary written in Byrd's own handwriting. The diary documents the incredible, mind-blowing events that occurred during Operation Highjump. These are events that were never officially disclosed to the public. The diary starts off with Admiral Byrd flying over the southern region of Antarctica in an initial exploratory flyover, mostly routine observations and status updates. His flight departed base station at 6:10 in the morning. 4 hours into the mission, things started to go balls to the wall crazy. First, he saw a mountain range with a small river running through it. It was surrounded by lush green vegetation and dense forests. Notably, there was a total and complete absence of snow and ice. His instruments were reading an external temperature of a very comfortable 74 degrees. He descended to around 1,000 feet to observe what's going on and saw various forms of animal life, yes, including woolly mammoths. By 11:30, he and his crew spotted what appeared to be a giant black hole in the ground. Around that time, his pilot said he no longer had control of the plane. Now, strange, disc-shaped aircraft suddenly appeared, positioning themselves as if escorting his plane. 5 minutes later, a voice came over the radio addressing Admiral Byrd by name and welcoming him and his crew. He was told to relax and that he'd be landing in exactly 7 minutes. The plane's engines stopped, and the plane began to float downward into the giant black hole until finally touching down with a jolt. Several tall, fair-skinned, blonde men approached the aircraft. Past them in the distance, he saw a thriving crystal city with pulsating lights. Admiral Byrd and his radio man were taken to a hovering platform and then transported to the city. His pilot stayed with the plane. Admiral Byrd was then escorted to a room and introduced to someone called the Master. The Master exuded a deep sense of kindness and great wisdom. He told the Admiral that he was in the domain of the Ariani of the inner Earth world. He promised the Admiral that he and his crew would not be delayed long, no harm would come to them, and then after their brief conversation, they'd be escorted safely home. The master revealed that the Ariani had a policy of non-interference with humans and their affairs. Recently, however, developments in our ability to use atomic energy, specifically nuclear weapons, has drawn their concern. Shockingly, the master indicated that over the years, the Ariani sent a number of emissaries to many nations across the world, basically to advise them of the dangers of atomic energy. So far, humans refused to listen to them. The master issued an ominous warning to the admiral about those who would destroy the world rather than relinquish their power. He warned that mankind was on the brink of causing its own extinction, but all is not lost. He promised that the few remaining survivors would be welcomed into his domain and cared for until the surface was once again safe for humans to return. Apparently, this wasn't the first time the Ariani safeguarded the human race. The admiral learned that there have been many ages of civilization over many thousands of years. In each instance, humans advanced technologically until ultimately destroying themselves and their environment. The Ariani welcomed humanity's survivors into their inner Earth realm to prevent our extinction and preserve knowledge. The Ariani sent emissaries to many governments around the world, warned our leaders about an inevitable extinction-level event of our own creation. So, why did these mysterious people show themselves and commandeer the admiral's plane? According to the master, because the admiral was being tasked with delivering this warning to his superiors. When the master finished his spiel, as promised, Admiral Byrd and his radio man were escorted back to their plane. By 2:15 p.m., their disc-like flying escorts departed, and the pilot regained control of the plane. They landed safely at their base camp at 3 p.m. Now, the diary goes on to say that on March 11, 1947, Admiral Byrd attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. This is where he was debriefed. This is also where he delivered the master's message. The President, Harry S. Truman, was advised, and Admiral Byrd was ordered to remain silent about what he'd learned. His final entry was on December 30th, 1956. In it, he laments the fact that the government planned to keep this information a secret and not act to prevent mankind's inevitable destruction. Interestingly, there's a notable correlation between UFO sightings and nuclear missile silos. Reports from military personnel stationed at these types of installations suggest that extraterrestrials have actually disarmed nuclear weapons in the past, so if nothing else, we're seeing a pattern emerge. There were undoubtedly a controlled number of high-level government people who may have known about the secrets in the Admiral's diary, at least two of whom, I might add, died under mysterious circumstances. The first was Admiral Byrd's only son, Richard Byrd Jr. He went missing on September 13, 1988. Last seen by his son on September 13th after being driven to the Amtrak station boarding a train for Washington, D.C. He was set to attend the National Geographic Society event honoring the 100th anniversary of his father's birth. His son asked the Amtrak attendant to keep an eye on him during the trip, just in case he needed anything. He told her that his father had occasional memory problems, but importantly, nothing too serious. Here's where it gets weird. He never arrived at his destination. Under questioning, the Amtrak attendant said his father disappeared around 30 minutes into the trip. Stranger still, his body was later discovered in a Baltimore warehouse. A custodian found him wearing what appeared to be a green workman's uniform. He was also missing a shoe. The cause of death was identified as malnutrition and dehydration. Richard Byrd Jr. was a Harvard graduate. He died at age 68, exactly like his father. Oddly enough, Byrd Jr. tested negative for Alzheimer's disease several months before his trip. The second person who may have known about this was Admiral James Forrestal. He was the last cabinet-level secretary of the U.S. Navy. He also personally appointed Admiral Byrd as commander of Operation Highjump. Admiral Forrestal died under very mysterious circumstances. He hanged himself out the window of the 16th floor of a psychiatric hospital with the cord from his bathrobe. Apparently, he checked himself in for depression. Adding to the mystery, the windows on the 16th floor were always locked and impossible to open to prevent exactly this kind of tragedy. The whole story begs a lot of questions. Is there a hollow Earth? If so, is that where UFOs are coming from? Those who subscribe to the idea of ancient astronauts suggest this story not only lends credence to the existence of inner Earth beings, but it also suggests that they are actively engaged in monitoring human activity. We can reasonably assume as we continue to advance technologically, it raises the possibility that we may one day come face to face with these inner Earth beings. Personally, I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than you think. I'm John Genoa. Let us know what you think in the comments and please subscribe. We'll be back with more from America's Strangest History soon. Thanks for watching.